Ideally, what we love to see is that as you make a backswing, as you start turning, the hips start going, the shoulder kind of basically only gets to that point right about there.
Yep.
Right, especially for really good iron players. Some players can crank it a little bit more,
yep.
But for the most part, what you see a lot of players try and almost get like their, this little logo on the top of your shirt relatively kind of over that ball.
Love that.
Right, and then in transition, what we see is that we see the pelvis move slightly forward and the chest and the left shoulder get right back over that original red stick here. And you can see right there, doesn't it kind of feel like you're almost already down from there?
Definitely.
Right, so really good key to good iron play is Eric goes back to the top there, right? So for here, he's actually got a little bit of side bend, but he's got a little bit more extension. So when he comes back down, when it gets that feel, that left shoulder stays down right there.
Yep.
He's regained what we call forward flex.
Yep.
Right, so you're basically in the golf shot, let's say your spinal inclination in the ground, when really from here, all you have to do now is kind of turn up and through
Feels
the
like
shot.
I'm gonna crush it. Hey guys, in today's video, we're gonna talk about 2 keys to compressing your iron shots. Now today we're lucky enough to have Mr. Andy Patnow here at the beautiful Starfire Golf Club in Scottsdale, Arizona. Now if you don't know who Andy is a Golf Digest Best Young Teacher. He's also ranked one of the best teachers in the state of Arizona. And he's gonna help me today talk to you guys about compressing your irons. Now, before we dive into that, 2 quick things I wanna talk to you about. Number 1, we have scheduled our in-person 2-day golf schools in Bethlehem, PA. If you'd like to come get some coaching from me, I would love to have you. We'll put a link in the description down below for those. If you can't make it for in-person coaching, I would love to work with you at CogornoGolf.com. That's where you can send me your swing video, become part of our community, and I can help you identify priorities and take your game to the next level. As a member of CogornoGolf.com, most importantly, you do get access to that Facebook community where you can post your swing, as I mentioned. You also get everything we have, including all of the master classes, the member library, the practice guide, and the quick fix section. Would love to see you there. Okay, Mr. Andy, thanks for having us out again today. Appreciate you. So we're going to talk today in this video about 2 keys to compressing the irons, and we're going to talk a little bit about how the upper body moves during the downswing. Now, before we dive into that, guys, let's just take a quick look at this clip here at how some of the best players in the world utilize the things we're going to talk about before we get into the drills. Okay, so let's check out Adam Scott here. 2 keys with the upper body and lead shoulder. So I'm going to just draw a line down his lead shoulder from face on, and I'm going to put a little circle around where he starts. Now, if we take him back here to the top, we're going to see that lead shoulder works off the line and down and in, right? So from our face-on perspective up to the top with the wedge here, we draw a little circle on his lead shoulder. Clearly that has worked down and in during the backswing position to get there. Now, the key is to compress the irons on the way down. Note where his lead shoulder and upper body will go relative to the circle at the top and relative to the line where he started. If I get him moving forward here, we're going to see that lead shoulder first works back towards the target and gets back to the original line he started on and actually forward of the original line he started on at impact. So if we do that again, here's where he started, left shoulder, roughly middle of his left shoulder there. With the red line, he works off of it as he turns down and in during the backswing. And then in terms of towards the target, he's going to get back to and then just past that line at impact. The other note here is at the top of the backswing, note the red line. His initial transition, this will be a little more exaggerated with the shorter irons. We're trying to compress irons here. As the irons get longer and into the longer clubs and driver, you'll see it's a little less, but as he works down, you'll see that initial motion, that lead shoulder is actually going to work down and forward. So not just forward towards the target, but also that lead shoulder works down towards the ground, eventually leveling out from where it was during the backswing, and then it'll start to work up and out during the later half, so back to about shoulders level here, and then it works up and back out of the way into the follow through. So those really being the take home points for Adam. Lead shoulder working down and forward to compress the irons during the downswing early, and then it'll start to work up and back in the later phases. And you'll see that to compress the irons with most all good players. All right, guys, so obviously there you saw some of the pieces of how the upper body works during the downswing, specifically
to compress some of the iron pieces. So Andy, let's talk a little bit about this. And this is actually something I saw on your Instagram, right, to start with. And the first piece of this being the lead shoulder. And let's kind of talk in real general terms how that works away from and kind of back towards the target during the downswing.
Right, so the most simplistic way to think about how the lead shoulder works in a golf swing, it not only turns, it goes down, right? So, and then it goes back up. So pretty much, you know, really good keys to consistent iron play is that if I sit there and I put a stick kind of right underneath your left shoulder there, let's just say it's relatively right about there, and then I put another reference just kind of like where that middle of the ball is at, especially since you have a shorter iron, right? Ideally what we love to see is that as you make a backswing, as you start turning, the hips start going, the shoulder kind of basically only gets to that point right about there, right? Especially for really good iron players. Some players can crank it a little bit more, but for the most part, what you see a lot of players try and almost get like their, you know, this little logo on the top of your shirt relatively kind of over that ball.
Love that.
Right? And then in transition, what we see is that we see the pelvis move slightly forward and the chest and the left shoulder get right back over that original red stick here. And you can see right there, doesn't it kind of feel like you're almost already down from there?
Definitely.
Right? So really good key to good iron play is Eric goes back to the top there, right? So for here, he's actually got a little bit of side bend, but he's got a little bit more extension. So when he comes back down, when it gets that feel, that left shoulder stays down right there. He's regained what we call forward flex. Right? So you're basically in the golf shot, let's say your spinal inclination to the ground, when really from here, all you have to do now is kind of turn up and through
feels
the
like
shot.
I'm gonna crush it.
Right? It doesn't feel like you're gonna use any hands there, right? And what I love about here from a like leaning the shot purpose, let's go back to the top. Okay. Kind of issues if you're kind of a person kind of struggling with kind of thinning it or chunking it, if that lead shoulder goes a little bit too high in transition, that club will fall a little bit more that way. And as you start turning, right, even if you sit there and lengthen out the radius of your golf swing, you're actually not going to get down the ball. Right, so let's go back to the top there, right, and as you get that left shoulder kind of work down, for you not to actually hit the ground, what do you got to tell your radius of the golf swing to do?
Shorten,
right? Because if you don't, you're going to chunk it. So that's actually how you start getting some shaft leans, because you're already kind of in the ground. You sit there and go bing.
Send back up and follow through. So I like that. That really feels to me like I'm, say, covering it. Right?
That's fine.
It's okay. It's allowed. As I'm working down during the downswing, and a checkpoint to use. And so really simple for me if I'm hitting shots and I'm watching this video, my goal is compress the irons. Right? When I take my setup position, I like this little stick at the ball. I'm getting my left shoulder kind of roughly to that during the backswing, feeling my lead shoulder in terms of how far forward or back should I go? Well, I'm not going back, up and back, right? I'm gonna go forward towards the target. And as I'm kind of floating forward towards the target, there'll be a down component.
Absolutely, right? And that's a really, really key thing, especially if you're kind of battling just with the inconsistencies at the bottom. You just see a lot of good iron players kind of focusing on that.
And so if I was going to start working on that, and I very well may need that, if I were to do a couple of rehearsals of that, I would start with a short iron. Maybe do a couple of rehearsals of me getting here, feeling my lead shoulder back to the top.
Right, and I wouldn't even go all the way to the top. I'd actually just kind of practice where your lead shoulder kind of even gets right between these two, right? Not even there, just so you can kind of get the comfiness of kind of right from there, right? Because then it's less movement to have to work forward, right?
Got it, okay. So maybe like left arm parallel.
Yeah, left arm parallel, right?
And then I'm feeling my lead shoulder working down and forward to start the downswing.
Absolutely, because and then from there, when you're down and forward, you can actually work up and back.
Back at it on the way through. So let me go ahead and do one here. So I'm gonna just feel kind of to about here. I'm working down and forward and then working up and out of it. So let me go ahead and hit one with that, Andy. In the beginning phase of doing this, if I'm struggling with compression, right, and ideally I'm kind of working with a coach, I've identified this issue, I'm gonna start with these feels, start short and slow and exaggerate. Right? I'm not gonna worry about how I hit this first in the beginning, but I am gonna give myself a look and say, hey, did I do this?
Honestly, I think some 3 keys, like one, it should almost feel like you're gonna hit some chunks. So honestly, strike the ground, right? If you're missing the ground doing this drill, you're probably not down enough.
Got it, okay, cool. Let's see if we can exaggerate one. So here, back here, lead shoulder down and forward into the downswing. Let's do it. There's me wimping out with the ground. Let's see. So lead shoulder down and forward, just kind of left arm parallel.
That's beautiful there.
Very good. So for me, and one thing that I'm always kind of saying in the videos a million times is the need for live viewer video, feedback. And so again, regardless of how that was struck, did I do the movement properly or not? Right. And I love the feedback of, if I'm normally someone whose left shoulder goes up right off the bat, I'm always gonna have to lengthen all my levers to try and get to the ball.
Always,
So if I now introduce this new element of being down and forward, but still do my old downswing pattern, I will hit some behind it.
Right.
Right?
Exactly, right? And it's not even like we want a crazy shorten radius or kind of do all that stuff. It's just giving you some feedback, because if you're using too much hands, it's not because you're using hands, it's because you're trying to hit the ball, right?
Yeah.
So again, even like Larry, because if you can see even that last shot,
Yep.
that ball is pretty much sitting there, and this is actually the first time I think you've actually probably see a divot that far forward in quite some time, right?
Yes.
So that just tells me there is that, one, you were definitely down and forward, you just probably were not up and back when you need to, right?
Beautiful.
But that's a great thing. That's kind of where I'd love to see it first, because that felt like all ball contact there, right?
Yep.
Let's see another one.
Cool, let's do it, yeah. So lead shoulder here. I'm getting back to where I started and working a little bit down with it as I do.
Yep, and
Right
then
there.
right when you get to that red stick, that's as far forward as you go, right?
Yep.
And then from there, it's just kind of fire up and down.
Green out.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Got it. And so maybe in the beginning parts, I'm feeling that lead shoulder working down and forward, down and forward, down and forward, but then I'm kind of comboing, if it doesn't happen automatically,
Yep.
that kind of pulling up and back on the
Yep.
on the way through. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. So lead shoulder down and forward, up and out, compressing irons. Yeah. And that felt like the one there, Andy, where I did that really well, and then now I just have to shorten the lever a little bit.
Yeah, and that's actually where you start seeing players have that look of the right arm being a little bit more bent,
Yeah.
not crazy straight. Again, don't chase a look, let the body kind of create that kind of low motion.
Right, and,
Yep.
and for the average golfer to create some compression, the point there, from my take of that, is if I can get my body via my lead shoulder closer to the ground,
Yep.
then that's going to give me a whole heck of a lot of motivation and incentive to shorten the lever and be able to turn enough.
Exactly.
Is that kind of fair? So it's,
Yeah.
hey, give yourself motivation to be able to get all those other pieces in there.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes you can reverse engineer it.
Yep.
But we're doing it with the lead shoulder. So love that in terms of the forward part. Let's talk a little bit more about the height of the shoulder during
yeah.
the downswing.
Okay, so we're talking about kind of where maybe the left shoulder should kind of point kind of in space, right? Not so much the down or up, right? It's kind of an idea. So go ahead and put that club across your shoulders here. And this is kind of a beautiful thing, right? And this is kind of an idea. So if you make a backswing here, right? And keeping it really simple, ideally we'd love to see that shoulder either point somewhat at the ball, maybe inside the ball if you're kind of really flexible.
Yep.
But most people are probably gonna be a little bit more right about there if you're kind of just playing golf generally, right?
Sure.
So I want you to imagine now, right, where that left shoulder is, as you move down, it actually increases in pitch just ever so slightly.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yep.
So just ever, don't overdo it, right? But just for the most part, because usually that tendency of that golfer is gonna go here, and it's gonna pop up. So not only is it kind of moving forward, it's also moving slightly down.
God, that's perfect. So for my, like, it'd be cool with the ones like little POV type of things here. If I go back like this, from my view, I'm seeing the butt of the club working forward towards the target, and just ever so slightly.
Slightly, yep.
Just ever so slightly going even slightly lower as I begin down.
Yep.
There's no way I'm going this way with those sort of feels. I'm doing 1 or 2 reps of that. I hop in, I hit some shots with that.
Absolutely. And then you're not going to be sending the ball crazy high just yet. Again, we're just looking for kind of that solid compressed kind of shot, just so you can kind of take a little bit of your hands out and just get the sensation of where that body should be in space.
Beautiful. All right, guys, if you guys like this video, go ahead and watch one of these 2 videos above. It's gonna be the same topic as this. You're gonna really love them. Also, if you like the video, do us a favor, click the like button down below, really helps us out. If you liked Andy in the video, which I know that you did, go ahead and touch base with him if you're in the area or wanna come out and get coaching from Andy. He's awesome. AndyPatnowGolf.com is where you can reach him. We'll put a link in the description down below. Thank you guys for watching.